In this question, we'll review significant figures and operations. We are asked to give the answer to the correct number of significant figures. The first question says 41 times 6.00 equals 246. This is the correct answer, but we must also express it to the correct number of significant figures. Now, let's look at the number 41. The number 41 has no decimal places, so we examine the significant figures, coming in from the right and going to the left, and we stop when we reach the first non-zero. This number will have two significant figures. Then we multiply it by 6.00. Now, since this does have decimal places, we come in from the other side and go left to right. Now, the first number we hit is a non-zero, therefore the 6 and the zeros that come after it are significant. So the 6 and both zeros are both significant figures, and we'll say that's actually three significant figures, even though at first sight you might think it's only one. Now, when we multiply them together, we get 246, but we must round this to the lower number of significant figures. This will be true anytime we're doing multiplication or division. Now, we're going to draw our mark after two significant figures. This means after the 4, and then we do our rounding based on the 6. Now, the 6 that we have there, it is greater than or equal to 5, and so that means we round up. That means we increase the number 4 by 1. Therefore, our final answer is not 246, it is 250. The 4 becomes a 5, and the numbers after the mark become 0. Let's continue and do this for part B. We have 0.2875 times 0.20. Both of these numbers have decimal points, and so we go left to right when we check for significant figures. The 0.2875 has 4 significant figures because they're all significant. The 0.20 has 2 significant figures. The 0 that comes after the 2 is significant. Therefore, our answer will use the lower number of significant figures, and we will use 2 significant figures. Now, we know the answer is 0.0575, and so we draw our mark after the second significant figure. Because this has a decimal point, we'll come in from left to right. The leading 0 is not significant, but the 5 and the 7 are, and we'll draw our mark after the 7. Now we have to think about whether to round up or down based on the next number, the 5. That is greater than or equal to 5, and so we do round up. And so our answer becomes 0.058. We don't need to put any more zeros after that, and if we did, it would be incorrect because that would change our number of significant figures to 3 rather than 2. So our final answer is 0.058. Now we'll do a different example with subtraction. When you're doing addition and subtraction, we follow different rules. Here we use the lower number of decimal places. And we do not pay attention to significant figures just yet. We only look at decimal places for addition and subtraction. So we have 0.2875, and we subtract 0.2. The first number has 4 decimal places, and the 0.2 only has 1 decimal place. Our answer was 0.0875, but we want to round this to only 1 decimal place because we want to use the fewer number of decimal places. And so we draw our mark after the first decimal place. It looks like 0. Now, go to the next number in the sequence, that's the 8, and think about, do we round up or down? Again, this is greater than or equal to 5, and so we do round up. And our final answer would simply be 0.1, and we don't write any more numbers after that. We want only 1 decimal place. Also, notice that this also has 1 significant figure. This will be important for our next operation. Now in part D, we have 0.2875 minus 0.2 in parentheses, now divided by 0.04375. We'll look to the operation inside the parentheses first. Now, we've already done this operation. We know that we had 4 decimal places minus 1 decimal place. And we know that's the same thing as really just saying 0.1, which is just one significant figure. Now we divide that 0.1 we got from the previous step over 0.04375, which is 4 significant figures. Again, we're coming from left to right. The 0 is not significant, but everything else is. So when we divide this, our final answer will use the lower number of significant figures. So remember, if multiplication or division comes after, use the lower number of significant figures. So this is why it was important for us to write decimal places and sigfigs for part C, because we were going to use it for part D. So when we divide in our calculator, we should have only one significant figure. If we put this in a calculator, we'll get 2.29. However, we only want one significant figure, and so we draw our mark after the first significant figure. We can round up or down based on the next number, but this number is less than or equal to 4. We round this down, and so our answer is just 2. We cut off all of the decimal places because we only want one significant figure.